Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. As you know, I have a story up now just about the Commanders' win over the Cowboys and what it means, and just really kind of what it meant for Marcus Mariota, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Also, if you want to become a club member, go to the Empire Media YouTube page, see the word join, click on there, go from there. I will be doing another private Zoom for the Gold members this week. Not sure if it's going to be Thursday or Friday. Just kind of depends on the schedule and how it breaks. But I will be doing one again this week to get everybody ready for the postseason. And hopefully I'll have maybe somebody on there with me this time. We will see. Anyway, for today, I'm joined by former Redskins coach Jay Gruden. Always like when Jay's on because he knows how to break down games. He's a very smart offensive coach. And it's funny because a lot of times I get people say, why would you have it? Because Jay's very smart. And this isn't about his tenure with the Redskins, except that I did ask him about Deshaun Jackson, a couple funny things about him, Pierre, et cetera. So there's some fun things there, but it's really about, this is a smart guy who knows how to break down games. He likes what's going on here in Washington. He loves Jaden Daniels. So always happy and glad when Jay comes on. So stay tuned for that. And just before we get there, just a couple things just to set you up for the week. It's a normal practice week for the Commanders. Of course, they play Sunday night, 8 o'clock against Tampa Bay. And we talked about, and I'm going to talk about this with Jay. It's a tough matchup for the defense because of how good the Buccaneers offense can be. Multi-dimensional attack. It's going to be a challenge. That's how it should be in the postseason. But I think conversely, I think the Washington offense can give Tampa Bay a very good challenge as well. So going to be interesting. Jay and I will get into all that. For programming stuff, Graham and I will be back on Tuesday night with another live stream show. And then I'll have a show on Thursday, a show on Friday, and my 5 things I think on Saturday. I'm hoping to have Jenna Lane on who covers the Bucs for ESPN to just talk about what's going on with Tampa. That'll be later in the week as well. So a lot to get you going this week, a lot to discuss, and it's a fun time, folks. Enjoy this because as we know, it doesn't happen very often around here, but I do think that this is the start of something. It's not a one-year blip where you can wonder about the next step. You have the quarterback, you have a lot of pieces, you have the right people making decisions. That is the key. Not just the quarterback, but the right people making decisions and putting this all together. And that's why you can feel good, not just about this year, but where the future is, regardless. The schedule is tougher next year. Okay. What if they win a couple fewer games, but they build a stronger roster? The goal is to build a strong, sustainable roster. And I think this is just the first year doing that. This is not a finished product. Keep that in mind. This is the first year of their rebuilding, recalibration, whatever you want to call it. It is just, I think, it may be a couple years before this roster is truly to where they feel it needs to be to consistently compete at the highest level, not just make the playoffs, but even beyond that. Again, right people making decisions, right guy at quarterback. It's a hell of a start, and 12 wins is a hell of a way to open your campaign, your tenure coaching this team. So anyway, that's enough from me. I've been blabbing. Let's get to my conversation with former Redskins coach turned analyst. He does stuff for Underdog Fantasy, Jay Gruden.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is a key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KEIM, K-E-I-M. That's code KEIM for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 160 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, Jay. Well, first, thanks for joining me. First of all, Washington plays the Bucks in the first round, but I am curious, as someone who's coached in the playoffs, how different does it get in the postseason for these teams?
Well, it's different. Obviously, there's a lot on the line. You lose and you go home. It's not like you can prepare next week and play your next game, obviously. So it's a win or go home type mentality you have to have, and there's a lot of pressure on every play. Situational football becomes very, very important. Obviously, turnovers, protecting the football, getting after the football, penalties, everything is magnified come playoff time. And the teams that can adjust, the teams that can protect the football, stay away from the self-inflicted wounds, usually the teams that advance.
As a play caller, how much do you look at, at this time of the year, look at your tendencies to have some tendency breakers? Do you do that more for the postseason because you have so much film available of what you've been doing?
That should be an ongoing process. You shouldn't have to wait till week 16. Okay, what are my tendencies? That should be going on from week 1 all the way to the whole regular season. So you're trying to build off what you've accomplished, what you've done, what you've shown other teams, and then you're trying to add some things with the similar formations, different concepts, or get in different personnel groups to run similar concepts, whatever it might be, ways to try to trick your opponent, so to speak, but also ways that don't confuse your own players. You can't add too much on a given week. You want to do what you do good at, but you also want to disguise your intent with formations and personnel groups.
So what about if Washington played Tampa the first game of the year? Mm-hmm. How much do you look at that game as any sort of reflection of what might happen this week? And so, I mean, obviously these teams are going to be very different, but how much would you look back on that one?
I would look at it, see how Todd Bowles and how the defense tried to contain Jaden Daniels, which they did a good job of. How much did they blitz and what was their plan going in? Obviously, they're going to adjust moving forward. They may have different people at corner, may have different people at nickel or whatever it might be, different pass rushers. See how they're trying to adapt to the players that they have on the field right now. Could be totally different, but they still had a plan for Jaden Daniels. And what did they do? What was successful for them? What did they do good? What did they struggle with? And then you try to figure out what they're planning on doing, but also trying to attack what Todd Bowles does on defense.
How with Bowles as a defensive play caller, what are the challenges going up against him? But then also, I guess the flip side is they leave stuff available for you because of the style they play with the pass rush.
Yeah, they do. I think if you have to go back and watch last year's playoff game against Philadelphia when he blitzed Jalen Hurts unmercifully and into submission. And that's something you have to be prepared for. You also have to be prepared for Todd Bowles playing different zone coverages. He likes quarters. He likes different versions of zone covers, how to attack those things. But the most important thing you have to have a plan for is cover zero, his all-out blitzes. He does a very good job of stop and run. They have a very good run defense, but they have been very susceptible in the last couple of weeks to the passing game.
Right.
Their corners aren't holding up. Their safeties aren't very good. The linebackers don't cover very well in space. So Todd's only answer right now is really to try to bring pressure, make the quarterback get it out quick. And that worked a little bit in the second half. But there's a lot of good ways to attack Todd Bowles' defenses, but you have to be prepared for the cover zeros and the blitz plan that he has.
Would you like facing that, knowing that if you block it up right, you hit it right, it could be a big play for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's always a great benefit. He just does a good job of bringing them in opportune times. A lot of teams think it's okay. It's going to be 3rd and 5 on their side of the field. Be ready for cover zero. This guy could bring it at 2nd and 2 at the 20-yard line and going out. I mean, he just is a wild card in that regard. But yeah, for sure. Especially, I don't think they have the corners that can really cover very well. I think Terry McLaurin can have a big day, get matched up one-on-one on whoever their corner is out there. So that is a great benefit to it, but you got to be ready for it. You still have to block them up. Even if you have a hat on a hat, you still have to make sure those hats block their hats. And that's always a tough thing to do because there's a lot of stunting and a lot of moving parts.
How different do you think, and I don't know if you've watched every game that James played, but how different do you think he is facing that in week 1 versus now getting ready to face it in the playoffs?
Well, he'll be a lot more comfortable, I believe. Just having the understanding of where to slide the protection, maybe turn the center one way or this way, or try to get himself protected, knowing who the free hitter is. That's always very important for a quarterback. If you only have 5 blockers and there's 6 guys coming, we're going to have five of know where the free hitters. I either got to avoid them, which he can do exceptionally well, or I have to, drift and throw it hot or whatever it might be. You got to have answers for those players. But I think he's just got a better understanding of the game, what Cliff likes, and Cliff has a good understanding of what Jaden likes. And I think together with the RPOs, the inside zones, the play action passes, the true drop backs that Jaden likes, I think they're in a much better spot now than they were obviously week one.
What have you thought about Kingsbury as a play caller? Because like there was obviously, everybody's going to have knocks on him as a play caller because that's what happens in this league. But what have you thought about him this year? Just and just maybe how different he is compared to when he first was in Arizona.
Well, I think he's done a great job. Obviously, I think he's done some good things with the. They've been very fortunate to have pretty much their team not injured. He's been
Right.
having all parts available to him. He's had a couple injuries to receivers. Austin Eckler got hurt. Tyler got hurt at center, which hurt him a little bit. For the most part, Jaden's been healthy. Terry's been healthy. B Rob's been pretty much available. So he does a good job of using personnel groups, which you can if you guys are available, changing up motions and formations and utilizing the quick game and the RPOs, the quarterback designed runs. He uses polars, he uses inside zones. I really like what they do in the running game. They do a lot of different things in the running game with the inside zones and then to two polars, a one polar, the quarterback keepers off of those polars. So it makes defenses very unsettled back there. Linebackers are looking at, am I looking at the ball? Am I looking at the polars? Am I going with the polars? Okay, where's Jaden? And it's just very entertaining to watch them play in the football. Now, passing game, I think they're still continuing to grow and trying to figure out what Jaden likes. I think that's where they can be a little bit better. But I do like what Cliff has done over the years this year.
And with the running game, because the running backs haven't been as productive, but the run game's still putting up some numbers. So you would, as a coach, how would you break that down and say, okay, this part worked and this is not? But how would you look at that as a successful run game, or do you have to get the running backs going?
I think you got to get them going a little bit. You don't want to be one dimensional against Todd Bowles, although, you know, maybe this is the week to be one dimensional
Right.
because they're so poor against the pass, and they do have Vita Vea and some good run defenders. But I think you got to be balanced. That's the most important thing. But, if the running game's not going with the running backs, Jade makes up for it with his ability to
Right.
run and some of the quarterback design runs and his ability to run on a drop back pass. He had 100+ yards a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, he's a great equalizer. I think he also does a great job of understanding what the game needs, what the each moment needs, what the play needs. If the running backs aren't hitting it for him, he needs to be the runner or the extension of the running game, then he'll do it. If a drop back passing, if Terry's covered and everybody else is covered, he can run and make something happen with his legs. He makes great decisions with the football, whether it's running or passing the football as a rookie, which is pretty damn good.
And what's the biggest evolution in his game have you seen this year?
I just think his ability to make the right decision. It seems like he's doesn't make the wrong decision very. He missed some throws against Dallas yesterday, which were very uncharacteristic of him. He didn't look like himself. I don't know if he's totally into it because he's probably told he's only playing a half and probably mentally treated it like a preseason game. I just think his whole game is from week one to now is just continuing to get better. That's what I liked about his whole career in college. Arizona State to LSU, he just got better and better and better. And it's the same way here against Tampa Bay. It was okay, and then he just continues to get better and better. Um, he has just a great natural feel for the position, which is fun to watch. Like I said, he doesn't turn the ball over despite all the different things that Cliff does with motions and formations. He never seems rattled. He's always seems poised and confident what he's about and who he is as a player and his ability to attack the defense. He doesn't care what happens. He feels like he's going to have a successful play, and confidence goes a long way at the quarterback position. He absolutely has a ton of it.
What's your favorite memory of Terry McLaurin?
Oh shoot! I just think just getting him here and meeting him, he's just a hell of a guy. I probably week one against Philadelphia, we didn't play him against the in the preseason at all. We kind of hit him. Um, didn't want him to pull a hamstring in a preseason game. I said we need this juice for Philadelphia, and he had a couple bombs. He had another one that I think Case Keenum missed him wide open. So yeah, I just think it's always fun to see a guy that is that good of a person, human being, and works as hard as he does, have the success that he has. You just love to see that pay off. The unselfishness that he has, the work ethic that he has, the team concept in his brain that he has. He just is a perfect player to have on your team. Unselfish, productive, great leader, great teammate. You want 53 Terry McLaurins on your football team. You'd be undefeated for a very long time.
he's been way more productive in the red zone this year.
Mhm.
Is it more being emphasized, or is there something you've seen in his game that's just more now like evolved, which makes him better in the red zone?
Now they do a lot of different things. He's worked some leverages, done a great job. Jaden's done a great job of finding them in second, third window throws. Sometimes he's not the design guy, but Jaden extends plays and he gets more opportunities because of Jaden's ability to extend plays. On the rhythm of the throw or the timing of the play, sometimes he's still made some plays, but not as many as some off schedule type plays. And Terry has a great feel for okay, the play's breaking down. Where's the quarterback? Let me find a good friendly angle to come be a great target for Jaden. Now that helps a lot too. But he's had some good red zone targets. He's had some back shoulder fades. He's had a couple crossing routes back there. So the route tree's probably expanded a little bit for him, which is good for him because he can do about anything at the receiver position as far as route trees considered inside and outside, which is good.
And then how, like when you watch those two together, how can they grow and develop their game together?
That just comes with repetition, timing, just continue to play with one another, communicate. But like I said, the big thing with Jaden, it's one thing to do the on schedule throws, the hitches, the slants, the posts, the bang eights, the comebacks, the daggers, whatever it might be. But once the play breakdowns now, a lot of quarterbacks naturally will try to find, their guy because they know he's going to
Right.
be coming back and trying to find a hole. And I think just continue to work together on the off schedule plays and try to become available Terry and obviously Jaden make the right decision, whether it's running or throwing at Terry or whoever it might be.
You sign up for something, forget about it after the trial period ends, then you're charged month after month after month. The subscriptions are there, but you're not using them. In fact, I just learned that 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all of my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now I'm saving more money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon. rocketmoney.com/gameon. What have you thought about how Washington's defense has been playing?
I think they've played very well. I think they've outkicked their coverage, so to speak. I think from a personnel standpoint, you ought to expect them to give up more points and more chunk yards. But they've done a great job, the coaching staff, and I think the players play hard, which is good.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Not everybody has the most talented defensive roster, but you got to play hard. You got to get off blocks. You got to tackle well. You got to try to create turnovers somehow, some way. So I think Coach Quinn's done a good job of mixing up his intents, playing zone, playing some single highs. Guys like Jeremy Chin stepped in, Luvu stepped in, done a good job. Bobby Wagner with his leadership has done great. Dron Payne's continue to get better. So they've got some guys that really good leadership guys that really hold people accountable on that defense, which you got to have, especially if your skill set isn't quite up to par with the offensive skill set. You got to play hard, and that's what they do. They make up for their lack of maybe speed on the outside or size in the middle to stop the run with great effort and great tackling.
When you look at the Bucs offense, what jumps out?
Baker. Baker jumps out at me. He's playing very well, and he can move in the pocket very well. I thought when they lost Chris Godwin, it'd be a big miss, but McMillan stepped in and done a nice job. Chris Evans obviously had Mike Evans obviously had the 1,000 yards. He's a hell of a player. Bucky Irving sticks out to me. I think he's an outstanding back. He's going to be a special player. He can make you miss. He's got power. He's got speed. He can catch. He's like a little, production wise, he's going to be like a Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, next year with his ability to catch the ball and run and make people miss on the outside. So Bucky Irving, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans. Cade Otton hurts him as a tight end. I don't know if he's coming back for the game or not, but he was pretty productive. And then obviously the youth of Jalen McMillan is pretty good. And Tristan Wirfs at left tackle is one of the best tackles in football. So they got a pretty good combination. You know, New Orleans did a pretty good job on them last week, scared the hell out of them in the first half,
Yeah.
both sides of the ball. But eventually Tampa took over. You just got to stay away from the big play and try to figure out how to contain Baker from his, you know, he's not Josh Allen, but he can run and hurt you with his legs. He does a great job making big plays on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 with his first down scrambling ability.
How would you like the first time they played him? They put good pressure on him, but they exactly what you said. They couldn't get him down. So as a coach, do you say like, "Hey, I'll take that again because maybe this time you get him," or do you try to do something to maybe to
Yeah, yeah,
something more to contain him a little
yeah.
bit
You
more?
just got to wrap him up. You know, he's a guy that he's not really good enough to really say, okay, let's put a spy on him. You know, he's not like a Lamar or Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen, where okay, we got to have a spy on this guy. He's going to kill us with his legs. And then at the end of the day, damn, he had 48 yards rushing. He killed us
Right,
with his legs. You know,
right.
so there might be some thought to that, maybe putting a little bit of a spy on him. But then when you take a spy on him, then you're going to lose a guy in coverage for Mike Evans and McMillan and all the other guys that they have. So it's a pick your poison type deal. I think I would continue to try to get after him with 4 guys, play some good coverage over the top, and take my chances. And Coach Quinn has done a great job of calling defenses, mixing up single high, man zone, cover 2 a little bit. So I think he'll do similar what he's done all year. Just got to mix them up good and then try to attack at the right time.
So what do you think about this matchup?
Shoot, man. That's the thing about Baker is Baker's always been hot and cold. If he's hot, it's going to be a very tough matchup for Washington. If he's on, they're going to score a lot of points, I think. But you never know. If he throws the ball to the wrong guy, overshoots a little in route, it throws it high and it's tipped and it's intercepted. And, they go for it on 4th down a couple times and don't get it. A couple penalties. But I think this should be a high scoring game. I think Buck's defense is reeling a little bit right now. I was watching Spencer Rattler last week. He looked like a little Joe Montana. I'm like, there's no way. I just saw New Orleans last week. They were horrific on
Yeah.
offense. And I think there's a lot to be had on this defense. I think Washington, Cliff Kingsbury, and Jaden can get after this defense. And I would expect it to be, a 28 to 25, 30 to 27 type game. And I think it'll come down to the wire.
Who do you like in the NFC?
I like Detroit. Obviously, they're the 1 seed, but the way they played defense last night, they fly around to the ball. Getting Anzalone back is a huge piece for them. You know, offensively, they can hit you. And Jameer Gibbs is a special guy. Amonra and Jared Goff is playing very well. I like Philadelphia, obviously, with Saquon and Jalen Hurts. I was a little bit on Green Bay, but I'm kind of backed off of them a little bit. Jordan Love hurt his hand, and they're a little inconsistent. I think Washington can prove to be a problem. Jaden's a nuisance, man. He's a wild card. He's a hell of a hard guy to bring down and contain. The Rams, I think I'm out on the Rams a little bit. I don't think their offensive line is really very good, and they're going to have to really run the ball and control the clock to have a chance. So yeah, I think Detroit, Philadelphia, obviously they're the 1-2 seed for a reason. I think they're the best 2 teams.
It's funny because like Sean not playing Stafford in the final kind of surprised me because they could have improved their seating a little bit, but it also would have given these guys a better chance to play them out west.
Yeah, it was kind of odd because the same thing happened with the Chargers, right? They could have sat, but they didn't want to go to Baltimore. Hell,
Right.
right? So now they
Right.
get to go to Houston, which is a huge difference. I
Right.
mean, I mean, not to say Houston's a bad football team, but they're not even anywhere close to Baltimore. Um, but who knows? I mean, Sean has his reasons. I think health is his number one concern. Matthew is getting a little bit older, and Puka's been had some nagging injuries. Same with Cooper Kupp. So I think getting those guys at full strength, possibly on a short week. You don't know if you're playing Saturday or Sunday. I think probably was the right move for that team at this point with the age that they have on their team and the injuries that they've had so far this year with the Whiteouts.
You had Kevin O'Connell on your staff. Any surprise at all with what he's done in Minnesota?
No, not at all. I mean, he inherited a pretty good football team, and then he's done a good job of the draft. They've done some good things. They have 2 of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, and Addison and Justin Jefferson. Hawkinson they got from Detroit was a good trade. Aaron Jones, a good pickup for them. Offensive line struggled last night, but Kevin's a good play caller, good football coach. They have good defensive personnel. I think what they did defensively in the offseason, getting Greenard and Van Ginkel and some of the other Bynum, I think, or not Bynum, the other corner they got from Arizona a couple years ago. So they've done a great job with the personnel of making their defense better, and that's the most important thing. And moving forward, if you have a good defense and get stops, and you have the weapons like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, quarterback can come in there, have some success, and have some fun and win a lot of games. That's what they did.
What do you remember about the your playoff game here in 15 against the Packers?
Man, I remember we got out. I mean, it was the best environment that I coached in when I was here for the 5 years and 5 games or however long I was there. The environment was incredible. I felt like it was a true Washington Redskin fan. I didn't see any. I'm sure there were some Packer fans, but it didn't feel like there were any. The buzz was great. I just remember pregame warm up. We jumped out on them, came out fast. Deshaun didn't score on a freaking shallow cross,
Business
and we got
decision.
business decision, and then we got stuffed. There's no reason we should have got stopped at the 1 foot line. And we really did a good job on Aaron Rodgers early in the game. And the one thing we preached and really worked on was his hard count and our not subbing on third down or whatever it was where he get the free play. And sure enough, he got the free play, which led to their first touchdown on 3rd and 10. And I was almost blew a gasket on the sideline because one of our fat linemen was running off and they snap it, free play, 50-yard gain. And they ended up coming back and beating us, obviously. But it was a great environment, very frustrating to lose it. But one of my favorite times as a coach just because of being in the playoffs in that big moment with the crowd all behind us.
And you bring up Deshaun. He's now a head coach at Delaware State.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Man, good for him if that's what he wants to do. I would have never predicted him being a coach, wanting to be a coach. He's not that he's can't do it. He's a very bright, intelligent guy. He's got all that about him. But I just hope that Deshaun has like 5 or 6 guys that treat him like Deshaun treated me. No, I'm just
So you need the purple nurples on the sideline.
yeah. No, not that. Just he had some other things, some business decisions type things. And no, he was great to have on our team, and love Deshaun. I wish him all the best. But I just hope he has a couple guys, put the hood down in the meeting like he's not listening just to test you. A lot of different things he would try to do just to try to get under the coach's skin. But at the end, he played pretty well for us, and I have a good amount of respect for Deshaun.
Yeah, I always got a kick out of him because he also he wouldn't always come to off-season stuff, but every year he did the same thing in the fall.
Yeah, yeah, he was good. I can remember one story. I've told this story a lot, but we're in a walkthrough. We're gonna line up in a bunch formation, and Jenkins was a safe. Malcolm Jenkins was a safety for Philadelphia. And he would come in a 3 buzz, and he'd like blow up your inside zone runs and your power runs or whatever it would be. And we're a walkthrough, so we got Malcolm Jenkins circled. Our scout team guy was Malcolm Jenkins, and we had to motion Deshaun Jackson at flanker in between the tight end and the tackle to insert and get Malcolm Jenkins. And sure enough, they walked through, and it was no contest. But after the play, Deshaun came up to me, "Hey, Gru, that's really not in our game plan, is it?" He didn't want any part of blocking Malcolm Jenkins in the hole. And I said, "No, Deshaun, I'll put Ryan Grant in for that one."
Well, I mean, that was the other thing because he wasn't always fond of the blocking. You guys had to mix it up a little bit to
We couldn't run to his side. He could run off. We could do a lot of RPOs, let him run a route,
right.
Things of that nature. But no, he was. That's not his fault. He was
Yeah, he's
5'9", 140 pounds. I mean, it's So yeah, that was a challenge. And then we tried to put flip sides with Pierre and Deshaun, and Pierre didn't want anything to do with it. He's like, "No, I'm an X. I ain't switching over there." He'd get all pissed off. So that's why everybody says that Jay loved Ryan Grant. Well, I loved Ryan Grant because he didn't care. He'd do whatever I told him. So I needed Ryan Grant. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to run the ball ever.
But that's why a guy like Terry, because you don't hear that stuff about McLaurin.
No.
For a high
Terry will read the play and just do it. He's awesome. He'll do it the best way he can. He'll insert, block a safety, and you don't want him to do a whole lot of that because he's so good. You don't want to get him hurt. But sometimes it's necessary. You see Debo do it. You see Juwan Jennings. You see a lot of the teams that can run the football effectively. A.J. Brown sometimes will do it. They have to have receivers that can block. You're not going to get the perfect look every time. You're going to have to block safeties eventually. Sometimes you want to crack an end. Sometimes you want to crack a linebacker. So when you have those guys that are really little that can't do that, it really limits your ability to run the football. That's why I think Washington did a great job in the offseason getting Noah Brown and De'Ami Brown, and Terry can block. They got Zach Ertz who can block on the outside. Logan Thomas is a pretty good receiver, but he's nowhere near the blocker that Zach Ertz and Bates and Snot now are. So they really adjusted the toughness. They addressed the interior part of their offensive line, so now they can run it a little bit better. So you got to have the pieces outside. The receivers are a very important part of that. I got off the subject, but you got to have big receivers that are willing to do a lot of different things to run the ball effectively.
Do you miss calling plays, designing plays?
A little bit, yeah, I do miss that. That's always fun. I think being a head coach kind of took a little bit away from that. I probably try to do too much, but yeah, I miss the part of I can still look at some of these coverages and have some pretty good ideas how to rip the hearts out of these defenses, but we'll never know.
Well, Jay, anything else you got going on? You doing the underdog fantasy throughout the postseason?
Yeah, we have the YouTube channel called Clean Pocket. Me and Colt McCoy, Justin Pugh, and AQ Shipley. We do that. You can go on YouTube and type in Clean Pocket, subscribe and like and all that stuff. And I do some other things. Yeah, so it's fun.
Good. Yeah, no, I always like the YouTube stuff because you and Colt together are fantastic. So I always enjoy that because I always like talking to Colt too because I told Colt he was either going to be a politician or a coach someday, but he chose a smarter route, which is to be an analyst.
Yeah.
You don't get as
Colt owns Texas. He can do whatever he wants. This guy, he could be a mayor, he could be the governor, he can do whatever he wants in Texas. He's got so many. People love Colt in Texas.
They do. Yeah, and that was another one of your guys, but it's
yeah. Injuries kind of hurt his career a little bit. Every time he had the opportunity to really take the next step, he got hurt his neck, then he hurt his knee. Tough breaks, but it happens.
That's a sport. So Jay, anyways, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
All right, John, thank you.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Jay for joining me, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back Tuesday night with Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, with a live stream show. Join us then. Bring your questions, bring your excitement, bring your energy for the Commanders playoff game against the Bucs on Sunday. Talk to you next time.